Buckle up, folks, because what I'm about to share isn't just some wild story. It's my life. One single cigarette, but yeah, you heard me, ended up blowing apart my whole marriage, ripping the mask off my wife's lies, and kicking off one of the craziest, coldest, most satisfying stories of revenge I've ever heard. And I should know, I'm the guy who lived through it. For years back, I thought life was good. I truly believed I had a happy marriage. Sure, I had my moments of doubt, thought maybe I was overthinking things, but deep down I trusted her. I thought my wife was loyal. But man, I was so wrong. She was having an affair, right in our home, in our bed, while I was busting my back at work. And that one little cigarette butt, that was the crack in the dam. After that, everything unraveled, and I didn't just sit back. I handled it like a damn pro. But to really understand how it all fell apart, I gotta rewind a bit. Take you back to the day when everything shifted. I remember it clear as crystal. It was late September. One of those evenings when the sunlight's all golden, and the breeze carries that crisp bite of fall. I just clocked out after a long day at the shop. I work as a machinist, have been for nearly 15 years now. 13 years at the same place. That week, we were swamped, trying to ship out a full load of parts by Friday. The pressure was real and I was beat, covered in grime and metal dust. All I wanted was a hot shower and to zone out at home. I pulled into the driveway around 6. Nothing fancy, just a modest house tucked at the edge of a quiet neighborhood. But it was ours and we liked it. White siding, blue shutters. A porch swing I'd put up myself one summer after Rachel said she wanted something cozy. That's my wife, Rachel. 31 years old. Teaches junior high English. Sharp as a tack, beautiful, and knows how to handle a cast iron skillet like a pro. We were closing in on our 7th wedding anniversary. Anyway, like always, I came through the garage, kicked off my boots, tossed my keys into the ceramic bowl by the coffee pot, and called out, "I'm home." Silence. No answer. I figured she was upstairs, maybe blasting music while cleaning or cooking. She does that sometimes. I didn't think much of it. Just made a beeline for the bathroom. After a day like that, nothing beats a long, hot shower and clean clothes. 10 minutes later, I stepped out, dried off, threw on my favorite old t-shirt, the one with the torn collar, and a pair of sweatpants. Yeah, it's faded and beat up, but it's like a second skin. Pure comfort. I strolled into the kitchen. Lights were on. Radio was playing soft in the background. Fleetwood Mac, Rachel's go-to when she's in a certain mood. I didn't smell dinner yet, but figured she'd start soon. I popped open the fridge, grabbed a cold beer, and turned toward the living room. That's when I noticed it. There was an ashtray sitting on the little table near the back door. No surprise there, I'm a smoker. Not proud of it, but I don't hide it either. Been smoking Camels since I was 19. Usually, I head outside to smoke and toss the butts into a jar by the patio. But when it's freezing or pouring, I sit by the back door, crack it open, and light up. So yeah, ashtray by the door? Normal. But what wasn't normal was the extra cigarette butt lying next to mine. A Winston Blue. I don't smoke reds. Never have. Too harsh for me. And I sure as hell don't smoke them inside my house. I picked it up, pinched it between my fingers, half burned, like someone had put it out in a hurry. And that's when it hit me. Rachel doesn't smoke. In fact, she hates smoking. Every New Year's Eve she'd beg me to quit. She tried everything, patches, gum, even dragged me to some hypnosis session once. None of it stuck. But if she wasn't the one who lit up, then who the hell did? I just stood there, staring at that cigarette like it was trying to whisper secrets. I ran through the list in my head. My buddies? Nah, none of them smoke reds. Todd smokes Newports, but I hadn't seen him in weeks. Her friends? Maybe. Brittany and Lauren both smoked reds back in college. But they hadn't been by in months. And Rachel was strict about one thing: no smoking in the house. Ever. Not even me. Only exception was that chilly corner by the back door when the weather was bad. And even then, I never made a big deal about it. I could hear her moving around upstairs. Maybe folding laundry or something. I could have just called up, "Hey babe, did someone drop by today? Leave a smoke behind." But I didn't. No idea why. Maybe something deep down told me to stay quiet. Maybe it was the way that cigarette sat there, half-used like it was left behind by mistake, or maybe hidden on purpose. Either way, I didn't want the truth. Not yet. I placed it back in the ashtray. Didn't even empty it. Just grabbed my beer, walked past her without a word, and dropped into my chair. Rachel came downstairs a few minutes later, all smiles. Kissed me on the cheek like nothing was off and asked about my day. I just said, long one. She laughed. Same here. And that was that. The moment slipped away like it never happened. We had dinner, watched some dumb game show, and called it a night like everything was totally normal. But it wasn't. Something had shifted, and I couldn't shake the feeling that the truth was lurking just beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. But the truth is, things weren't okay. That cigarette just sitting there like it had every right to be stuck in my mind like a thorn. It didn't scream. It whispered. Quiet, unsettling. Just enough to make the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I could feel something was off. Deep down, I knew it. But I didn't do anything about it. Not right away. Instead, I let it fade into the background. Told myself I was being dramatic. That maybe Rachel had one of her teacher friends over for coffee and they lit up without thinking to ask me first. Heck, I even tried to convince myself I might have grabbed a Winston from someone last week and forgot. But let's be real, I don't forget that kind of thing. Not ever. Still, I didn't bring it up. Didn't ask her about the cigarette that night or the next. Something about it didn't sit right with me, but I couldn't find the words. Maybe I was afraid of sounding crazy. Rachel always said I got too in my head when I overthought things, and I didn't want to feed that narrative. So I swallowed it. Kept it locked away. But just because I didn't say anything didn't mean I wasn't thinking about it constantly. It was like a quiet hum in the back of my brain that never shut off. I'd be elbow deep in engine grease at work, but my mind kept circling back to that cigarette filter. I'd be halfway through my lunch, zoning out, replaying the scene in my head like some busted-up movie reel. A half-smoked Winston. Not mine. Not hers. Not anyone we usually had over. I didn't suddenly turn into Sherlock Holmes or anything. I'm not wired that way. I don't do drama. But I did start noticing things, paying closer attention. And once I did, I couldn't unsee it. Rachel was different. A little colder. More distant. Not in some big explosive way, but the little things added up. She stopped laughing at my corny jokes. Didn't ask me about my day like she used to. I tried making conversation, normal stuff. I mentioned that her friend Brittany had posted a picture from a cookout and I asked if she'd seen it. Rachel froze up for a second. She glanced at her phone and muttered, "No, why would I?" Which was weird, because she and Brittany used to be inseparable. Always texting, sharing lesson plans, tagging each other in dumb memes. But now it was like she hadn't spoken to her in days. Same thing happened with Lauren. They'd been planning this girl's trip for months, talking about it nonstop. So I casually asked if it was still happening. She said, "We're not sure anymore," and changed the subject so fast it made my head spin. Then there was the night she told me she had a curriculum meeting after academy. I didn't question it. But later, I walked past the laundry room and saw her digging through the dryer, mumbling about a specific pair of jeans she needed. Not a skirt. Not dress pants. Jeans. Didn't exactly match the image of her sitting around a table with academy administrators. Sure, maybe I was reading into it too much. But when the little things start stacking up, they don't look so little anymore. A few nights later, she said her coworkers were planning a wine night. Some get-together at a friend's apartment to unwind. I nodded, told her to enjoy herself. But while she was getting ready, she kept checking her phone every 2 minutes. And when she finally walked out the door, I stood at the window to watch. She didn't take the usual road toward town. She turned the other way. I stood there with my arms crossed, just staring down that road, feeling like some insecure old man who'd let his imagination run wild. But I couldn't deny it anymore. Something was happening. And it was time I stopped pretending otherwise. That's when I made a choice. I hired a private investigator. And believe me, that wasn't easy. I wrestled with the idea for over a week, pacing the living room at night, lying in bed staring at the ceiling fan, wondering if I was losing my mind. But in the end, I realized I needed to know. I couldn't just accuse her based on a cigarette and a sinking feeling in my gut. So I found a guy online. Ex-cop. Ran his own small-time agency now. He didn't look like much, balding, scruffy, the kind of guy who probably owned 3 identical polos and wore them year-round. His name was Victor. Said he'd worked dozens of cases like mine. Told me I wasn't the first husband who couldn't shake a bad feeling. The price wasn't cheap, way more than I felt comfortable spending, especially considering how things eventually turned out. but at the time it felt necessary. I didn't tell a soul. Not my friends. Not my brother. Not even Jason, the guy I'd worked beside for 8 years. This was mine to carry. Victor got to work fast. He assigned a guy to keep tabs on Rachel. Not full 24/7 surveillance, but enough to put together a picture. He tracked her after academy, when she ran errands, followed her to weekend events, even kept an eye on her while I pulled overtime shifts. Every few days, Victor sent over an update. Just a simple email with a breakdown of what she'd been up to. I opened every one with sweaty palms and a racing heart, expecting the worst. But every time, it came back clean. Or at least that's what it looked like. She went about her life like everything was normal. Work, the grocery store, the gym now and then, and the occasional coffee shop stop. Victor sent over photos, grainy black and whites, like something from a cheap crime show. There she was, leaving academy, carrying shopping bags, sitting by a window with her laptop and a cappuccino. One even showed her laughing with 2 other women at a cocktail lounge, glass in hand. Everything looked routine. No strange men lurking around. No random hotel detours. No shady cars parked down the block with the windows tinted black. Just life. Ordinary. By the end of the second week, I felt like an idiot. Victor called to check in, see how I was feeling about it all. I told him to keep going. I wasn't ready to let it go yet. Maybe Rachel was just being careful. Maybe she somehow knew someone was watching. As the 4th week rolled in, I couldn't ignore the pit in my stomach. The updates kept getting duller, like someone reading off a grocery list. She went to work, dropped by the bookstore, came home. That was it. Finally, I picked up the phone and told Victor to pull the plug. He paused. "You sure?" he asked. I said yeah. I was done. I felt ridiculous, like I just flushed a fat stack of cash down the drain. Money we could have put toward a house. I'd let that single cigarette eat at me for a month straight. Lost sleep over it. Checking my phone like some lovesick teenager. Waiting for the next email to confirm my worst fear. And what did I get? Proof my wife was just living her life. So I dropped it. Never brought it up to her. Didn't mention Victor or the photos or the endless mental pacing I'd been doing. I even deleted the reports from my inbox. Like they never existed. I told myself I was exhausted. Maybe I was just being unfair. Maybe I'd projected my own stress from work, from life onto her. Told myself the Winston and the weird tension in her voice didn't mean anything at all. She kept acting the same. And that just made me feel worse. Like I'd invented the whole thing. One night, we were sitting on the couch, and she leaned her head against my shoulder, just like she used to. And I remember thinking, God, I don't even know what to believe anymore. After that night, I made an effort to let it all go. I really tried. I focused on being present. I stopped checking the clock to the minute when she said she'd be home. I stopped tracking her eyes when her phone buzzed or glancing at the screen when it lit up. I let the tension roll off me, like shrugging out of a heavy coat. But even then, way down in the pit of me, there was still that quiet ache. That little voice whispering, something isn't right. But for a while, life smoothed out. It was like someone hit the reset button on our marriage. After calling off the investigator, I told myself it was time to move on. I'd followed the clues, and they didn't lead anywhere. No suspicious characters. No second phones. No lipstick-stained receipts from some hotel on the edge of town. Rachel was doing what she said she was doing. Teaching. Working out. Hanging out with her girlfriends. So I shoved the memory of that cigarette into the furthest corner of my mind and told myself what I should have said from the start. Focus on your marriage. Focus on her. And crazy enough, it worked. Things got lighter at home. I stopped eyeballing her phone when it rang. I didn't read into the way she said goodnight or worry about which side of the driveway she parked on. I stopped overthinking every blink, every word, every move. And Rachel? She seemed different, too. Warmer. More here. She started holding my hand at the grocery store again. Picked up my favorite beer without me asking. One afternoon, I came in from mowing the lawn and the whole house smelled like peaches. She'd made cobbler from scratch, my favorite. We stood in the kitchen, eating it straight from the dish with 2 spoons, burning our mouths on the hot crust like we used to when we were broke newlyweds. And man, she smiled in a way I hadn't seen in a long, long time. It made me feel stupid for ever doubting her. The next week, she came home with wallpaper samples and paint chips for the guest bathroom. That Saturday, she rolled up her sleeves and helped me clean out the garage. We were moving in sync again. Like a couple who'd made it through the hard stuff and come out the other side stronger. Simple, steady, real. And honestly, I was embarrassed. Embarrassed I'd let my thoughts run wild. Embarrassed I'd wasted money spying on a woman who was probably just tired like me. I never brought it up again. Not the cigarette. Not my doubts. Not a word. I stuffed it all into the back of my mind and locked the door. Sometimes late at night I'd catch her glancing at her phone and smiling to herself. I didn't ask what it was. Maybe a joke. Maybe a student sent something funny. Maybe a group chat with her coworkers was lighting up about some junior high drama. It didn't feel worth digging into anymore. But deep down, somewhere quiet, I still couldn't shake the feeling that the story wasn't over. Not yet. We were supposed to be one of the good couples. At least, I always thought we were. That sense of peace I had, that quiet comfort I'd been wrapping around myself like an old favorite blanket, turns out it was a mirage. Like the steam that rises off hot pavement after a summer rain. It feels warm for a second, then disappears before you can hold onto it. But back then, I didn't notice. I honestly believed I dodged a bullet. What I didn't know was that the chamber was still loaded. And the trigger? It was halfway pulled. It had been several months since our last weekend getaway. Things at home felt good. Better than good, actually. They felt normal in that familiar, easy way you stop noticing after a while. That night started like any other. I got home just after 6. Kicked off my boots at the door, tossed my keys into the hamper like always, and made my way to the bathroom to wash up. The house smelled incredible, garlic, rosemary, that warm scent of baked chicken filling the air. Rachel was in the kitchen, humming something upbeat. She had a little sway in her step, like she was in a good mood. I grabbed a beer from the fridge and leaned against the counter, just chatting while she chopped and stirred. We laughed about something. I honestly don't remember what it was now, but it felt easy. It felt right. After dinner, she went upstairs to fold laundry. I figured I'd do my part and take out the trash, since the bin was getting full. As I walked past, I noticed the bag was already bulging tight at the top, like it had been crammed full hours ago. I could smell cooked onions and old food rising from it. Grease-stained wrappers, balled-up paper towels, leftover scraps from dinner. I grabbed the drawstrings, gave them a twist, and started to lift the bag out of the can. And that's when I saw it. Through the thin white plastic, barely noticeable under all the mess, something caught my eye. Tucked along the inside of the bag, just behind the food wrappers, was a cigarette butt. Red-tipped. And just like that, I froze. I stood in the middle of the kitchen holding that trash bag like it had just whispered something threatening. The butt wasn't mine. I knew that instantly. I hadn't smoked anything but Camels in nearly 15 years. And this one? It had that unmistakable red band at the end. Winston Blue. The exact same kind I'd found months earlier in the ashtray. But this one wasn't just tossed aside like an accident. It was hidden. Buried under lettuce scraps and a dirty napkin stuck against the inside wall like someone wanted to make damn sure I wouldn't see it. My chest tightened. I looked up toward the stairs where I could still hear Rachel moving around. The soft thud of cabinet doors, the rustle of laundry, maybe the sound of hangers sliding. I glanced back at the trash bag. Then I walked out the back door like nothing was wrong. I closed it behind me and headed toward the trash bins, but I didn't toss it in. Instead, I veered toward the side of the house where I keep my tools and spare parts. I grabbed a clean plastic spoon from the stash of stuff we keep in the fridge out in the garage. Don't ask why, it's a habit from grilling days. And yeah, I'm not proud of what I did next. But I went digging. I tore through that bag like a man possessed. Sorting through wrappers and clumps of food like I was looking for buried treasure. And there it was. Right near the bottom, half stuck to the inside of a takeout box lid, was that same cigarette butt. Red-tipped. Coral lipstick smudged on the filter. The exact same shade as last time. Same size. Same look. It hadn't been crushed like mine usually were. It looked like someone had flicked it away in a hurry, like they didn't want to linger. I held it with the spoon like I was presenting evidence in a courtroom. My hands were shaking. I didn't want this to be real, but it was. This wasn't some random drop-in by a rude guest. This wasn't old. The food in that bag was fresh. I knew for a fact the trash hadn't been tied up until after dinner, which meant that but was tossed while I was gone. Probably earlier that day. Maybe even just a few hours ago. And Rachel? Rachel doesn't smoke. She never has. She hates it. So who did? My brain started spinning, erasing back through every little moment I'd brushed off. The first Winston in the ashtray. Her weird reaction when I brought up her friends. The sudden silence in the weeks that followed. That look she'd give her phone when she thought I wasn't watching. The jeans from the dryer. The wine night where she turned the wrong way out of the driveway. It all started to click. This wasn't paranoia anymore. This was real. Physical. Right there in my hand. I didn't take the cigarette inside. I didn't confront her. Instead, I slipped it into a sandwich bag, sealed it tight, and hid it in my toolbox under the workbench right next to an old socket set I haven't touched in years. And no, I didn't blow up at her. Not that night. Even though every nerve in my body was telling me to storm upstairs and demand answers, something held me back. Because deep down, I think I knew this time I wasn't chasing shadows. This time, the truth was coming. What I felt in that moment wasn't just anger, it was something colder. Sharper. I didn't want stories. I didn't want carefully worded excuses. I needed truth. Plain and undeniable. The kind you can't twist or dance around. The kind that leaves no room for lies. So I walked back inside like nothing had happened. Washed my hands. Flopped onto the couch and turned on the TV like it was just another normal Tuesday. A few minutes later, Rachel came down the stairs with a neat little stack of towels in her arms. She sat beside me, smiling like she always did. Reached over and rested her hand on my knee like nothing in the world was wrong. And I smiled back. But deep inside, it felt like the ground beneath me tilted. This wasn't just some nagging suspicion anymore. This was a second red flag, literally red. Same cigarette. Same lipstick. Popping up again where it didn't belong. This time I wasn't going to brush it off. I'd already made that mistake once. No PI this time. No blurry photos of her buying lattes. No waiting around for updates that amounted to nothing but wasted cash and wasted nerves. This time I was taking matters into my own hands. The day after I found that second Winston butt, I drove to a big box electronics store on my lunch break. I didn't even know exactly what I was looking for, I just wandered through the home security aisle like a guy pretending to know what he's doing. Eventually, I settled on a small hidden camera disguised as an air purifier. White plastic case. Quiet fan. Flashing light that I could turn off. The lens was hidden behind the grill on top, barely noticeable unless you stared straight at it. It connected to my phone and backed everything up to a private cloud account. Motion activated. Stored footage for a full week. Sent notifications too. That was all I needed. I waited until Sunday. Rachel had a full list of errands, grocery run, then heading over to help a friend set up for some kid's birthday party. Said she'd be gone most of the afternoon. And she was. 3 hours, just like she promised. I used every minute. In our bedroom, there was a little side table in the corner with a potted plant. I moved the plant to the windowsill, set up the purifier, plugged it in, and aimed the lens straight at the bed. It looked natural. Like it belonged there. When I finished, I just sat on the edge of the mattress, staring at it. Felt like I was crossing some invisible line. Like I was betraying someone. Like I wasn't even sure what I was trying to protect anymore. But then I remembered her. Calm, smiling, sitting next to me just days ago like she didn't have a care in the world. And suddenly, I didn't feel bad anymore. That night, she walked in the door with a box of cupcakes from the bakery. Said she picked up extras in case I wanted something sweet. We watched some TV, folded clothes, even talked about painting the hallway a new color. Everything felt normal. Picture perfect. All the while, the little camera hummed silently in the corner, recording everything. First week came and went. I checked the footage every few days. Nothing unusual. Just clips of her making the bed, flipping through her phone, doing yoga in front of the closet mirror. Sometimes she'd hum along with the music playing in the background, wearing that old college hoodie she loved. It was ordinary. Comforting even. Second week passed and still nothing. Her schedule stayed the same. Work, dinner, sleep. She didn't seem nervous or distracted. No signs of someone hiding anything. By the third week, doubt started creeping back in. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe I really did blow this all out of proportion. I caught myself hovering over the delete button on the app more than once. Came this close to unplugging the damn thing and tossing it in the garage. But I didn't. Something inside wouldn't let me. So I kept going. Made checking the footage part of my routine. Lunchtime scrolls, rewinding the dull parts, skimming through the boring stuff just in case I missed something. Sometimes I'd let it pile up for a few days and then sift through it in bulk. I even hid the app on my phone and slapped a second lock code on it. Just in case. A month passed. Then 2. Still nothing. Then came the third month. I remember the exact day. A Wednesday. Hot, dry, yet too warm for early fall. I was at work, bored, waiting on a delivery, and opened the app just out of habit. I wasn't expecting much. But something was different. The motion alerts had spiked. 6 or 7 clips, all from the middle of the day. Rachel had told me she was staying home to work on some graduate course stuff. Said the academy would be too noisy for her to concentrate. I clicked the first video. She was standing in the bedroom with her phone in one hand, gazing out the window like she was waiting for something. After a minute, she walked over to the mirror, fluffed her hair, ran her hands down her shirt, adjusted her jeans. Then she left the room. I tapped the next clip. And that's when I saw him. She came back with a man. Big guy. Broad-shouldered. Thick frame. Wearing a plain black t-shirt and jeans. He moved with a long, heavy stride like he'd been walking all day. And in that instant, I knew I hadn't been crazy after all. He dropped his duffel against the wall like he'd done it 100 times before. Like this wasn't his first visit. And right then, my stomach sank. Rachel was smiling at him. Softly. Gently. She crouched at the edge of our bed while he slipped off his shoes like they were settling into some old, comfortable routine. It didn't feel sneaky. It felt practiced. And that's what really gutted me. Because I knew him. His name was Logan. One of her old high academy friends. Back when we were first dating, people used to mention him all the time. Big guy. Drove trucks. Always on the road. She said he was like a brother. Just a harmless old friend who'd pop in and out of town. Yeah. Right? I sat there in my truck, gripping my phone, and watched the woman I had built my life with ease into bed with another man, our bed. I didn't move. Didn't flinch. Just watched. They talked a bit. Then laid back on the mattress like it was the most normal thing in the world. He reached out and brushed his hand along her face, and she leaned into him like it was second nature. Like she'd done it dozens of times before. The camera just kept rolling. That's all I needed. I didn't scream. I didn't break down. I didn't throw my phone across the dash or punch the steering wheel. I just sat there, stunned, like someone had clamped a weight to my chest and I was slowly sinking into concrete. 2 months. 3 damn months of watching. Waiting. Second-guessing. And then suddenly, there it was. No maybe. No suspicion. No cigarette. Just proof. Real, undeniable, gut-wrenching truth. I sat frozen for nearly an hour. Barely blinked. Then I picked up my phone, downloaded the footage, and saved it to a private drive. Made a backup. Then emailed it to myself just to be safe. Like I was filing a report. Like it was just another part of the plan. But inside, something had shifted. I crossed a line and I knew I wasn't coming back from it. Still, I didn't say a word. Not that night. Not the next morning. Not even later that week. I played the part. Ate her cooking. Watched our regular shows. Chatted about her coworkers and their dumb new puppy. Listened while she talked about the teacher training coming up. I smiled. I nodded. I kissed her forehead when she walked past me like I didn't already know. Like I wasn't picturing that moment on the footage burned into my brain. But I kept it all inside. Because flipping out? Throwing accusations, dumping her stuff on the lawn, demanding answers? It might have felt good. Sure. But it wouldn't get me what I really wanted. I needed leverage. I needed control. So I stayed silent. Bided my time. Went to work. Came home. Played the game. Meanwhile, I got to work on protecting myself. I made 2 more copies of that recording. One went on a USB drive I locked in my work truck. The other I stashed behind the insulation in the garage wall, tucked next to a rusty box of bolts I hadn't touched in years. If she found one, I'd still have another. Then I made the call. It had been years since I'd spoken to the lawyer who helped me with my dad's estate. Same guy who drafted up the prenup when I inherited the house. His office hadn't changed, still across from the post office, still smelling like paper and stale coffee. Same gray blazer, too. Looked like it hadn't left the hangar in a decade. We shook hands, sat down, and I told him everything. Not in a rage. Not through tears. Just calmly laid it all out. What I suspected. What I saw. What I recorded. And that I hadn't said a single word to her yet. He leaned back in his chair, nodded slowly. Like this was all familiar territory. When you're in that line of work long enough, I guess nothing surprises you. Do you still have the prenup? He asked. I reached into my folder and slid it across the desk. Yeah. We signed it back when I inherited the house. He flipped through it, scanning the pages with one hand while sipping lukewarm coffee with the other. My name. Her name. Then something caught his eye. He gave a small chuckle and tapped the middle of the page with his pen. Well, he said, looks like you were smarter than most folks. I blinked. What do you mean? He turned the contract toward me and pointed to a section halfway down the page, clear as day, right between joint property and marital assets. It read, in the event of infidelity or breach of marital fidelity by either party, the offending spouse agrees to forfeit all rights to shared property, financial assets, and any ownership interest in the business as defined in this agreement. I just stared at it. That line, that one little paragraph we barely gave a second thought to back then. We'd signed it over 8 years ago. Back when I was still reeling from losing my father, and the lawyer advised we get everything in writing, just in case. He said it wasn't about love. It was about being smart. And Rachel? She didn't even flinch. She signed it without a single argument. And now it was about to come full circle. Back then, we were younger, full of hope, maybe a little idealistic. We both laughed as we signed the prenup, promising we'd never have to use it. It was just a safety net, a formality. Now, years later, it sat in front of me like a golden ticket. If you want to handle this quietly, my lawyer said, you've got every right to. Especially with solid proof of infidelity. Based on what you've told me, that clause is enforceable. He broke it all down for me, what kind of evidence would hold up, how the process worked, and what steps I'd need to take to make it stick. He also made it clear what not to do. No early confrontations, no heated arguments, and definitely no giving her a heads up before everything was in place. It was surreal, honestly, just sitting there while someone calmly laid out how I could legally dismantle my marriage with a few documents and a handful of well-timed dates. But the strangest part? I wasn't upset. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't pacing or clenching my jaw. I was still. Steady. There was this eerie calm sitting in my chest like a weight, but it didn't crush me. It grounded me. I walked out of that office with a folder in hand, a timeline mapped out, and a quiet sense of direction. For the first time in months, I wasn't drowning in doubt, I had a plan. When I got home, the house smelled warm and sweet, banana bread. Rachel was in the kitchen, pulling a fresh loaf out of the oven. Just like she always did on Sundays. She turned and smiled when she saw me. Hey, how was your day? Fine, I said. Nothing out of the ordinary. She offered me a slice of bread, still warm in the center. I took it. I thanked her. I ate it. Told her it was the best batch she'd ever made. She smiled like everything in the world was right. But in the back of my mind, that sentence from the prenup beat like a slow, steady drum. The aggrieved spouse agrees to waive all claims. We wrote that line together. Sat across from each other at the same desk. Signed it in the same ink. And now it was about to mean everything. I still remember her laughing when we signed the prenup. Well, she'd said, giggling, I guess we better not screw this up. And yet here we were. I wasn't the one who messed it up. She'd already done that part for both of us. For weeks after I met with the lawyer, I placed her bags neatly on the front porch. It was a Saturday, one of those crisp fall mornings when the air feels cleaner than usual and the trees are just beginning to turn gold at the edges. I woke up early, earlier than I usually did on weekends. Made myself some coffee and sat in the kitchen, papers spread out like a blueprint for freedom, reviewing every last detail. I'd been planning this moment for days and I wasn't about to let anything slip through the cracks. While she was out, said she was visiting a friend, I got to work. I just smiled and told her to drive safe. Watched her taillights disappear down the street. Then I moved fast. 3 bags. 1 for her clothes, 1 for her bathroom stuff, and a 3rd for all the little things she'd kept in the house, her candles, her books, her perfume. Even her old notebook with the torn leather cover. I didn't break anything. Didn't toss anything in anger. I folded her shirts, zipped the bags up with care. Not because I was trying to be kind. I just didn't want to give her anything to throw back at me later. Once everything was packed, I changed the locks. Swapped out the deadbolts. Reset the garage code. Took her key off the ring and tossed it in that junk drawer filled with spare batteries and screws that don't match anything. By the time she came back that evening, I was already in bed. I heard the tires roll over the gravel. Heard her footsteps approach the door. Then silence. A pause. The doorknob rattled. Then stopped. Another moment of stillness. Then a sharp knock. Then another. And then her voice. Hello? What the hell? I stood just behind the peephole, watching as she tried the handle again. At first, she looked confused. Then her face twisted into something closer to panic. She pulled out her phone, stared at the screen, and started calling. I let it ring. She called again. And again. By the 4th call, she was screaming. What's going on? Let me in. What the hell is this? That's when she saw them, her 3 suitcases. Lined up like soldiers on the porch. Waiting. She dropped her phone, clutched her head like it physically hurt to take in what was happening, and started pacing in tight little circles, completely unraveling. Like the logic just wasn't clicking. She didn't yell again, didn't demand answers. She just sat, hugged her knees to her chest, stared at her phone. After about 10 minutes, she finally stood up, dragged her bags to the car, shoved them in the back seat, and pulled away. I stood at the window and watched her go. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel like some righteous hero. But I did feel something I hadn't felt in years. Done. That night was the first time I'd fallen asleep in complete peace in what felt like forever. A few days later, she was served at her parents' place. Everything was handled through the attorney. By the book. No messy surprises. No drawn-out drama. We filed based on the terms in the prenup with everything documented and time-stamped. She didn't fight it. She couldn't. The proof was too clean. Too real. There was one brief court hearing. She showed up with her dad and a lawyer who looked like he couldn't wait to get out of there. She never looked in my direction. Her hair was pulled back in a tight knot, no makeup, sunken eyes. She looked hollow, like someone who just crawled out of the rubble. The judge reviewed the agreement, watched the video clips, looked over the finances. It was quick, clean. She lost everything. No share in the house. No access to the savings. Not even a piece of the furniture. All she had were the 3 suitcases I'd packed. When it was over, she walked out without saying a word. Her father followed, never once glancing at me. I stepped out of that courtroom alone, took one long breath, and felt 5 years slide off my shoulders like a coat I didn't need anymore. That night, I cracked open a beer and sat on the back patio. The house was still. But this time, the quiet felt right. 8 months passed after the final ruling. I settled into the new rhythm of life. The house was quieter now, sure, but not empty. Just peaceful. Like the silence that comes after a long storm when the air finally stops shaking and the wind stops rattling the windows. I picked up more hours at work, fixed the things I'd been ignoring, painted the guest room, cleaned out the garage. Nothing dramatic, just steady progress. Forward motion. I never heard from her again. No texts, no calls, not even a note in the mailbox. There were whispers around town. People said she'd moved back in with her parents, that she was working part-time at some tutoring center while trying to piece her life back together. But me? I wasn't looking back. We'd laughed when we signed that prenup back when everything still felt easy. I remember her saying, well, let's just make sure we never actually need this. And yet, here we were. I wasn't the one who broke us. That was all her. For weeks after meeting with my lawyer, I quietly set her bags out on the porch. It was a bright Saturday morning in mid-fall. Cool, dry air. Trees just starting to wear their colors. I'd woken up earlier than usual, made a pot of coffee, and spread my paperwork out across the kitchen table for one last check. No mistakes. No loose ends. I'd planned it all down to the last detail. She was out, told me she was heading to a friend's place. I just gave a nod and told her to drive safe. The second she turned off our street, I got to work. 3 suitcases. One stuffed with clothes. Another with her bathroom things. The last filled with her personal odds and ends, candles, notebooks, that chipped old hairdryer. I didn't toss anything. I folded it all carefully, zipped everything up clean. Not out of sentiment. I just didn't want her spinning a story later about how I'd been cruel. This needed to be smooth. Unquestionable. After I finished packing, I changed the locks, replaced the deadbolts, recoded the garage opener, took her key off the ring and tossed it in the junk drawer next to the batteries and mismatched screws. By the time she got home that evening, I was already upstairs, lights off, pretending to be asleep. I heard her tires crunch over the gravel. Then the quiet steps up to the door. A pause. The doorknob turned, then stopped. Another pause, then knocking. One short, one hard, then her voice. Hello? What the hell? I stood just behind the peephole and watched as she tried the knob again, more forcefully this time. Confusion twisted across her face, then turned into anger. She pulled out her phone and started calling. I let it ring. She called again. By the 4th try, her voice was shaking with rage. What's going on? Let me in. What is this? Then her eyes locked onto the 3 suitcases sitting in a perfect row on the porch. She dropped her phone and just stood there, hands tangled in her hair, pacing back and forth like the whole scene didn't make sense. No more yelling, no more questions, just silence. She eventually sat down next to her bags, arms wrapped around her knees. 10 minutes passed before she got up, dragged the luggage to her car, and drove off. I watched it all from the window. I didn't feel victorious, didn't feel smug or satisfied, but I did feel finished. That night, for the first time in years, I slept without tossing. A few days later, she was served at her parents' place. Everything was handled professionally. My attorney filed according to the prenup. The evidence made it open and shut. She didn't fight it. How could she? The footage spoke for itself. We had a single court date. She showed up with her dad and a lawyer who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. She didn't glance at me once. Her hair was tied back tight. No makeup. Her face was pale and tired, like someone who'd been buried under rubble. The judge reviewed the contract, the recordings, the financials. In less than an hour, it was over. She walked away with nothing. No stake in the house. No money. No furniture. Just the bags I'd packed. No goodbye. No apology. Her father followed silently behind her. I stepped out of that courtroom, took one long breath, and felt 5 years of weight fall clean off my shoulders. Later that day, I sat on the back patio with a cold beer. The house was still again. Only this time, it felt right. 8 months passed after the final ruling. Life didn't feel lonely, it just felt settled. Like that moment after a heavy thunderstorm, when everything's soaked but the air feels clear. I threw myself into projects, fixed things around the house, helped a neighbor build a chicken coop just to keep my hands busy. There's peace in that kind of work. Purpose, even. About a year and a half after the divorce, I started showing up to small neighborhood gatherings again, birthday parties, weekend cookouts. Nothing fancy. Shake hands, eat a burger, head home. And that's where it happened, where I met Emily. It was at a small engagement party for a mutual friend. Nothing flashy. No dramatic entrance. Just her. Kind, grounded, funny without trying too hard. We talked that night, then again, and again. Text messages turned into coffee. Coffee turned into dinner. Walks with her dog, Milo, turned into weekends sitting on my porch, talking like we'd known each other for years. Emily really listened when I talked, like truly paid attention. And somehow, she could make me laugh in ways I didn't even know I'd been missing. Fast forward about 9 months, and I asked her if she'd want to move in with me. About a year and a half later, we were married. Nothing fancy, just a backyard wedding, simple and perfect. Her brother crafted this wooden archway by hand. My best friend handled the grill, cooking up ribs like it was a family reunion. Even Milo, our dog, wore a little bow tie for the occasion. Emily got emotional during our vows, tears and all. And if I'm being real, I probably choked up too. Now here we are, expecting our first baby, due this August. I actually built the crib myself, piece by piece. And sometimes, I'll just sit in the living room, soaking in how different the place feels now. It's not the furniture or the layout that's changed. It's the atmosphere. Everything's lighter, warmer, like I can finally breathe again. And Rachel? I've got no idea where she went after we had that talk at the cafe. Truth is, I don't really care. She made her choices. I'm just grateful I wasn't around when she decided to bring someone else into our relationship. My world didn't fall apart when she walked away. It finally opened up. But what would you have done in my shoes? Would you have called her out face to face? Or walked away like I did? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And hey, if the story hit home, give it a like and subscribe. There's more to come, and it only gets deeper from here.